Hey, okay, so it's thought I'd just give you a quick view of what it is that's actually happening now in the game, which isn't the game, or not the game, the Novillo project. And I'm going to just start recording here on my screen and just kind of take you through what it is that actually happens in the interface now. It's kind of silly, but you know, it's there. So you probably can see this now, and I'm gonna I'm gonna start up the simulator, the code here. So you can see over on the left-hand side, that's the kind of really rough and ready first screen where you get to choose the project you want to work or view in, and I'll choose this one here called Turkey Monkey. And at this point, what I can do is I've got my palette here, and I'm just going to show you how the aspects of the palette are working really hard on. These are the different parts of the palette. So here are like these are the different files that are part of the project. They got automatically imported when when you load it. It comes from a server that's elsewhere. Here are the blocks, so you can select different blocks, and they have different stuff in them. This one doesn't have anything in it. And then there are the compositions, and they contain the names here are what you'll remember from the blocks, the default, blump, bonka, bonka. So if we go back here and I choose this first one, you can see it's made up of the two, default and blump. Sorry about the names, they just get stuck in there. The next one doesn't have the house thing in it. And the other one has a different version of the heart and gear and thing. You can see there's different colors applied and so forth. So here this is made of bonka bonka. It has one drawing in it, which is called diamond heart, and that has one group called artboard. All this has taken me a long time to work out, and I don't know if it looks as hard as it. The thing that I've been working on more recently is going to apply to this this one right here, and I gotta make sure I'm recording. Yeah, and when you first come in, you can go here, and this lists all of the different, what we call threads, which are like the selections of different groups of things. So here's Pongatronic is one of them, and it has two events in it. Events are like moments along the screen. If I actually were to go in here, you see it has three. That's because there's something wrong there, but anyway, I'll choose this one, Hacha Mucho. Oh, I know why that's true. Yeah, it's true. And that is the first one of these things. And that gives me this area here where I can, in the composition, I can now edit that. The reason I can edit is because I've got these Pongatronic, that's the thread, the set of selections I've made, and Hachamucho, which is the name of that given to the first event. And so over on the right-hand side is where it's going to get interesting in a second. So I'm going to go in here, and you'll see it just changed, but what I have now is the editing area for the composition, and there's a bunch of things. You've seen this in screenshots before, but this is it now working and doing stuff. Now you're not going to see any change in the drawing because it doesn't do that yet. I'm just focusing entirely on the data, but here we go. So you can use these to select either, this is the background color and the opacity of the total image, right? None of this actually works. The data is collected now, right? This is the fill of any object that's filled, so the red, the black, and so forth. It's in the selection. This is the line weight, so the weights of these lines here. Again, nothing works, just the data. We'll be able to see that in a second. And this is the feature where the lines can be drawn on or drawn off. And these are all different things you can select in order to change the settings of them. So they're basically kind of 6 settings that you're worried about. I'm going to go here to to this one here. And what you'll see is that there's values here that I can change now. And when I do, you'll see over here, this is the data in the database that I've changed. You see 67.1 here, and down here you can see 67.1, because what I was doing was changing the overall opacity, and that's the index for doing that. On the other hand, I can go here, and I can select the fill, and you'll see that's changed to 58 because that's the current value for that. If I wind that down, oh, that's disabled, sorry. That'll be affected only by the color wheel, which we don't have working right now. But this one, I'm going to change this number here, which is the amount of time this effect takes. So out of 400 clicks, which is how long it would take to swipe through this effect, this will take up just 66 of those clicks. And you can see that's been recorded in here, in the line timer and so forth. If I do something like select, this and this, I can select all of them, and if I can select just two, then I can I can change values here, and it'll change for both of those features, which is important because it means that now they take the same amount of time exactly as the other one does. So if you want an effect that both changes the line weight and changes the fill at the same time, this is your way to make sure that they are exactly lined up. Very simple way to do it. One of the other things, and so basically this is the value if you have a thing like line weight. So if I go here and deselect this, this will change the line weight for any object that's selected right now. This will disable that. Oh no, actually that doesn't, because it has a feature where it just selects one at a time. This one will let me change the opacity as opposed to the line weight. So the same field is being used at different times for different values, different items in the database. The 4 bars here are actually really important. What they do is they say, okay, if you have 400 clicks to swipe through this thing, then how far into those 400 do you want to start this effect? So how far in do you want to start the line weight effect? So this is a way to do that. You can change that, and you can change it. So this means it'll be starting later in the line, in the 400, and this means it'll be starting, oops, this means it'll be starting earlier. Now, the opposite, it can be done here on the end exit. But the difference here is that this represents the proportion of this part here. In other words, if you have everything starting at this point, you'd have this much space and so we map that to this. So the basic idea is that this gives you, after that happens within this space, at what point would it end? And the other 2 bars are basically a variation on what happens in here and here. So I'm going to open this up a little bit here. And you can imagine that this, which is right now about 50%, means that there'll be 50% in this area when any of these events could start changing. So if you had 20 lines that all had their value changing, the last of them would be guaranteed to start at this point, about 50% or 65% into the 400 clicks it would take to go through it. But the earliest of them will be starting about halfway down there. So you would have a range in here. And I'm going to get a way to visualize that, but you get the idea, right? And the same thing is true over here. So it's a way of creating variation and randomness. And the other cool thing about this is that if you wanted to change everything, you could do that as well. Everything can be changed so that it all updates or starts at the same time or ends at the same time. So you can get all of these features completely coordinated through this mechanism, like when they start, when they end, how much variation there is in them. Or you can just, at this point, deselect one and change that so everything else will have that value and the line weight will have a different value. So that's kind of where I've got to. The challenge right now is to take this massive information over here and, take this massive information over here and turn it into something that happens when you swipe. So if you look here, I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to get rid of this, so we can get it down to this more. But you can see here that when you'll see these numbers up here and down here, that when I swipe, this is how fast things move. So remember I had 400 clicks. This is how long it would take to get through 400 clicks. And that's basically the idea behind this thing, is that all of that is mapped to the amount of swiping you'll have to do. Right now I've got this hard-coded to change the compositions at an interval of, I think, 300 or something like that. So they're changing on their own anyway, but that will be linked in. So that's basically the work of that, and then it loops around to the beginning again. So there's quite a lot done in what we're trying to put together to make this really shine. But the only thing that's not happening now is the actual changing of the drawing. And part of the reason is I want to get some better drawings in there that would be better for testing with, but you kind of get the idea. This is sort of now working. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording of the screen, and I'm going to stop the recording here. I'm going to package this up together and send it to you some way or another and see what you think.